The NFL Draft is a time full of celebration and joy for players and fan bases of all 32 NFL teams. The joy for NFL players is usually short-lived as pretty quickly it's time to get to work. A lot of the time, NFL fans celebrate because of the future they have ahead of them, and they are usually ecstatic about the players they selected. Sometimes fan bases can get pretty pissed off about their picks as they think their favorite team should have selected a different player than the player their favorite team ultimately drafted. And after the draft, you always hear about grades and which teams won the draft and the whole nine. And in today's video, we are going to go in reverse order and grade the 2022 NFL first round 1 year later. And without further ado, let's begin. Jahan Dotson was drafted by the Washington Commanders, and there was a little pushback with this selection because the Commanders traded out of drafting Chris Olave to trade back and draft a receiver. Olave went on to have 1,000 yards as a rookie, but that doesn't mean Dotson had a bad year. He had 35 receptions for over 500 yards and 7 touchdowns in just 12 games, and would have been on pace for 10 touchdowns if he played a full 17-game season. The common theme among receivers taken in the first round from 2022, as you'll see in today's video, is not great quarterback play. Dotson is no exception, and I think he will be a good receiver for a long time. Not an overly dominant rookie season, but a solid rookie year, a B grade 1 year later. Kenyon Green from Texas A&M stayed in the Lone Star State as the Texans selected him at pick 15. One big thing to note with not only Kenyon, but for future offensive linemen drafted young, is it is a grown man's game in the trenches, meaning the difference between a guard's strength at 21, which Kenyon was during his rookie season, and at age 26 is a lot. Green gave up the 11th most pressures in the NFL with 47 during his rookie season, and had the 7th most penalties among offensive linemen with 12. Sure, you can look at the team situation and say, great, the Texans stink, they drafted another bust. But I don't think that's the case. Kenyon has a mindset of wanting to get better and accepts how many growing pains there were during his rookie season, which to me is huge. And for now, the grade is bad as it is a D+, but I think it will only go up. Kyle Hamilton went to the Charm City, and boy did he have himself a rookie season. With how good of a year Sauce had for the Jets, Kyle's rookie season was kind of overshadowed. He has all the tools to be a good safety in this league for a very long time. And unfortunately for Kyle, his lows were magnified more than a typical rookie's lows usually are. Everyone saw the Dolphins play and how they came back from down 28 points, with Kyle credited to giving up 2 touchdowns in the process. This is per PFF's coverage statistics. And Kyle gave up a singular touchdown the rest of the year as a 21-year-old rookie safety. To give you an idea of how good of a rookie season he had, his defensive grade on PFF was less than a point away from Sauce Gardner's, and he graded out as the best safety in the NFL as a rookie. He is the real deal, and 1 year later, this is an A+. Jordan Davis, the big fella from Georgia, went to Philly at pick 13, and this will always be a tough pick to grade. Jordan did not play more than 50% of the snaps in a single game during his rookie year, and also missed some time due to an injury. He is a part of a very good defense that's going to the Super Bowl, but did not play a huge part within this. His statistics will also never look great because of the position he plays. Jordan's job will never be to get 12 to 13 sacks a year, and that has to be remembered. The Eagles also signed veterans Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to beef up for a Super Bowl run, which directly affected Davis's snap count. He played solid for the most part during his rookie season, when he was on the field that is, and a year later this is a C+. Jameson Williams finished his rookie year with 1 catch for 41 yards and a touchdown. He also had a big touchdown called back during the Lions' Week 18 win at Lambeau Field. With the Lions' offensive line, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamal Williams, and another year of Ben Johnson, who decided to stay as the Lions' offensive coordinator, I love not only Jameson's future, but the Lions as well. Jameson tore his ACL during last year's national championship game and missed a lot of his rookie year due to recovery, and at the moment, this grade is incomplete. Chris Olave, one of two Ohio State receivers, was the number 11 overall pick and finished his rookie year with 72 receptions for 1,042 yards and 4 touchdowns. Chris did this by having a 35-year-old Andy Dalton throw the pigskin for most of the year. I thought Olave was snubbed from the Rookie of the Year conversation as he was not a finalist, but I think what was most impressive about Olave's rookie season is he did not have a game under 40 receiving yards. Not many players can say that about their 2022 season. Not Justin Jefferson, not Devontae Adams, and not Jamar Chase either. That's obviously not to say Olave is better than them, as much as it is to say his future is extremely bright. And this may be controversial, but when you draft a 1,000-yard receiver that looks to be a 1,000-yard receiver for a very long time, this to me is an A+. Chris's teammate Garrett Wilson went from Columbus to the Big Apple and also had a very good rookie year. He had 83 receptions for over 1,100 yards and also had 4 touchdowns. One of the most frustrating parts about Wilson's rookie season was when Zach Wilson came back and played, well, bad. Because when he came back, Garrett had a 4-game span where he totaled just 10 catches for 100 yards, and given what we saw in the other 13 games of his rookie season, it was disappointing to see his rookie year get limited relative to what he could have put up numbers-wise. He had 475 yards in the final 6 games of his rookie year, with a combination of Mike White and Joe Flacco at quarterback, and would have been on pace for over 1,300 yards. I think this is simple. Get him a quarterback and let him cook. An A+ grade, as the New York Jets finally have a number 1 receiver. Charles Cross, the Seahawks left tackle, is next, and the statistics on Cross may be a bit surprising as he allowed the 8th most pressures out of any offensive lineman per PFF. However, there were a ton of positives with Cross throughout his rookie season. Despite allowing that many pressures, there would be games where Charles would have a clean sheet and look like a franchise left tackle. And like with Kenyon Green, we point out how young Cross is. He turned 22 in late November, and given he played left tackle, he's going to face great pass rushers time and time again. And I don't think Cross's grade should be ridiculed immensely because Nick Bosa got the best of him a couple of times. That's going to happen. He did also pancake Nick Bosa at one point in the game, and I know Seahawks fans are very proud of that. And Cross will get better with time, and 1 year later, he gets a B-. Drake London is up, and this was a player who started his season off hot, cooled off a bit, then picked it back up towards the end of the year. And specifically within the final 5 games, he had 3 games with 95 or more yards and ended the year with a 120-yard game against the Bucs. He was coming into his own by season's end, and I don't think there's any other way to view the end of his rookie season as promising for 2023 and beyond. In the final 5 games, he had 31 receptions for 428 yards, which would translate to a 105 reception, 1,400-yard season. Kyle Pitts did not have a great year after a 1,000-yard rookie season due to quarterback play, and not surprisingly, London struggled at times as well. I think he can work his way up to an A+ pick and be a good receiver for Atlanta for a very long time, but for now it is an A-. Evan Neal was the Giants' second first-round pick at number 7 overall, and there is no way to sugarcoat his rookie year. He allowed 52 pressures on the year, and you may be thinking, is there that big of a difference between him and Charles Cross, who allowed a ton of pressures as well? And there is. There were games Cross played where he looked dominant and looked like a franchise tackle. Evan Neal's team was fortunate enough to make the playoffs, and in 2 games, Neal allowed 13 pressures and a sack. He struggled big time against both Dallas and Philly, and even allowed 3 sacks in 1 game back in Week 3 on Monday night. He was a younger offensive lineman as he turned 22 in September, but aside from the Colts game, a very ugly rookie season, and a year later, this gets a D. Ikem Ekwonu had a welcome to the NFL moment in Week 1 as he got to face the great Myles Garrett, who was on his way to his second consecutive 16-sack season. Ekwonu's debut turned out to be his worst game of his rookie year, as he allowed 27 pressures in 2022, and 4 came from that game alone. You often hear about a player having a bad game turning out to be a good thing in the long run, and I think this was a classic case of that. You just don't hear a lot about Ekwonu because he played on a bad team who had a quarterback carousel and a head coach get fired during his rookie year. He also got better as a run blocker as the year went on, and I think this was a very solid rookie year. A-pluses for offensive linemen are generally reserved for players like Rashawn Slater or Quentin Nelson, and I don't think Ecom had that good of a rookie year. A good rookie year, but not an utterly insane rookie year, and the grade is an A. Kayvon Thibodeaux is an interesting player to grade as he is a classic case of sacks are not everything. He finished his rookie year with 4 sacks and even had 2 forced fumbles. I do wonder what his numbers would have been if he played all 17 games fully healthy, as I think he could have had a 7.5 to 8 sack rookie year. And when projecting Kayvon's future, it's very bright, as he will have Dexter Lawrence and Azeez Ojulari as teammates for at least 2023, if not 2024 as well, depending on if Lawrence signs an extension. And how this correlates to KT is I expect him to have double-digit sacks next year. Not close to double digits, but 11 or more. He showed a ton of promise this year and will look to put it all together in 2023. A B+ that should only go up. Sauce Gardner went from Cincinnati to the Big Apple, and for any questions he had in the pre-draft process, such as would he be able to make the transition and would he be able to live up to being a top 5 draft pick as a corner, and how would he fare at the NFL level, he answered them. Sauce had one of the best rookie seasons not just in the past 3 or 4 years, but really ever, especially from a corner standpoint. Teams veered away from Sauce as it was easier to look elsewhere than look towards a receiver who was blanketed. He got beat by Stefon Diggs deep once for over 40 yards, and how that occurred was the Bills threw something at Sauce that was not on tape. They had not run the play before, and to have to go to that measure to beat a 22-year-old rookie with Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs shows the type of respect Sauce has. He was a first-team All-Pro player for a reason, and this is an easy A+. Derek Stingley was the 3rd overall pick, and given he played on a bad team as they finished with the 2nd worst record in the NFL in 2022, unless he had an unreal rookie year, he was not going to get talked about as much as other rookies. And it also didn't help he played in a Tampa 2 defense all year, where Stingley was relegated to covering an area rather than go man-to-man, which was what scouts fell in love with when he was in college. It was a disappointing year for Stingley, but it wasn't necessarily his fault. Imagine Tom Brady running the offense Lamar Jackson does. That's not his strengths. And neither is Derek Stingley in a Tampa 2. I hope DeMeco Ryans lets him cook in year number 2. For now, I would give this a C-, but I do want it to be clear, this is not Derek's fault. This is a product of poor coaching and systematic use. Aidan Hutchinson, the Michigan man, went home as the number 2 overall pick, and he did not disappoint. He led all rookies in pressures, and this is a classic example of buying into coaching along with maximizing what a good player can do, at least in the back half of his rookie year. Hutch led all rookies in pressures with 53 and had 2 sacks in the Week 18 game against the Packers in what was a huge tone-setting win for the Lions. He finished the year with 9.5 sacks and even had 3 interceptions, and there's only one problem isn't the right word, more of a discussion about his draft grade. Micah Parsons is the definition of an A+ rookie season. It's not an exaggeration to say Micah had one of the best defensive rookie seasons ever. Hutch had a great rookie season, but it wasn't legendary Micah Parsons-esque. I would give Hutch an A+ and have a note next to Micah that his rookie season would be in the rare A++ category. So 1 year later, Detroit has an A+ pick in Aidan Hutchinson. Travon Walker was the number 1 overall pick, and all of the concerns with Travon entering his rookie year were evident at times. He had a win rate of 11.4% per PFF and had just 3.5 sacks on the year. The big thing with Travon is if he can develop into what everyone thinks he can be, then he could prove to be a very good pass rusher. I didn't agree with the pick at the time, as I thought there was entirely too much projection with a number 1 overall pick, and out of the top 4 rookies in total pressures, Kayvon finished last in sacks. Obviously, sacks aren't the end-all be-all stat, but Walker finished 4th in pressures and had the lowest win percentage of him, Hutch, KT, and George Karlaftis, all first-round picks, and I think he has been underwhelming. Not a bust, but underwhelming, and a year later, this gets a C. That's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, as it would mean the world and help a ton. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.